Some moments don't announce themselves. They just happen, quietly, and change everything before you even realize it. Ava remembered the exact second it hit her. It was the way he said her name. Not in the usual casual way he used when everyone else was around. Not in that warm, friendly tone he used when they were in a group. This time, Luca said it softly, almost like the words were meant only for her. It happened on a rainy evening in late autumn. The community center had hosted one of its long volunteer nights, the kind that left everyone tired but oddly peaceful. By the time they finished packing up, most people had already headed home, rushing through the drizzle with their jackets pulled tight. Ava stayed behind to finish labeling a few boxes. She didn't mind staying late. Sometimes the quiet was easier than facing her thoughts. She didn't even notice that Luca had stayed too. He was supposed to leave earlier to meet a friend, but something had shifted in his plans. She didn't know that yet. All she knew was that the room grew quieter than usual, and the soft rhythm of rain tapping against the windows became the only thing she heard. She felt someone step inside the doorway. "Hey, are you almost done?" She turned around. Luca stood there, hands in his pockets, damp hair falling slightly over his forehead. He looked casual, relaxed, but his voice didn't match. His voice was low, gentle, and for some reason, it made her heart pause. He had never sounded like that before. Not to her. "Almost," she said. "You don't have to stay. I can finish the rest." "I know," he replied. And that was when she heard it, the difference. A softness she had never noticed. Or maybe he had never shown. He stepped closer, not enough to startle her, but enough that she could feel the shift in the air between them. "You've done enough today," he said. "Let me help." Ava wanted to laugh it off, make a joke, say something to push away the strange warmth rising inside her. But she didn't. Instead, she nodded, and the two of them worked quietly side by side. Every few minutes, she'd catch him glancing at her. Not in a way that made her uncomfortable. More like, he was checking if she was okay. She didn't like attention, not usually. But this didn't feel like attention. It felt like someone seeing her without her having to say a word. When they finished, she placed the last label on the last box and stepped back with a long breath. "Done," she whispered. Luca smiled. Not his usual, bright, friendly smile. This one was smaller, more real. "You always stay the longest," he said. "Someone has to." "Yeah," he murmured. "But not someone. You." Something fluttered in her chest. She didn't know what to say. She didn't know how to handle that kind of direct sincerity. So she reached for her bag and headed toward the door, hoping movement would steady her thoughts. But as she reached the hallway, the lights flickered from the storm outside. A soft rumble of thunder rolled through the building, and Ava paused without meaning to. Luca stopped behind her. "You all right?" he asked. There it was again, that voice. Quiet. Warm. Meant only for her. She nodded, even though she wasn't fully sure. The storm felt heavier than it should. Or maybe her feelings did. For a moment, neither of them moved. The hallway felt suspended in time, dim lights, distant thunder, the faint scent of rain drifting through the cracked window at the end. Everything else in the world felt far away. "Ava," he said softly. She turned. Luca's expression had changed. It was open, vulnerable, like he was about to say something he hadn't planned on saying. She felt her breath catch. "What is it?" she asked. He hesitated. Only for a second. But she felt it. He wasn't searching for the right words. He was searching for the courage to speak them. Then, gently, he said, "I stay behind because I worry about you. Even when you think you're fine." Her heart trembled at the honesty in his tone. Luca never talked like this in front of others. He was confident, outgoing, always joking. But here, in the quiet, his voice held something deeper. Something meant only for her. She didn't know how to respond. She didn't know if she should step closer or step away. All she knew was that something had shifted between them, something she didn't yet understand. Before she could speak, the thunder cracked again, louder this time, and the hallway lights dimmed for a moment. The sound made her flinch. Luca instinctively stepped forward. Not touching her. just close enough that she felt the warmth of his presence. "Ava," he whispered. And the way he said her name made her realize this night was not going to be like any other. A slow, uncertain breath left her lips as she tried to steady herself. And as the storm deepened outside, she wondered if this was the moment everything quietly began to change. If you're enjoying this story so far, please like the video and subscribe for more heartfelt tales. The thunder rolled again. Ava stepped back slightly. Luca stepped forward without even realizing it. And the next words he spoke would shift the air between them even more. Some moments feel louder than they are. Not because of noise, but because of what they mean. For Ava, the hallway suddenly felt too quiet. Too still. Like it was waiting for something to happen. Luca stood only a few steps away, the storm humming behind him. His voice had softened again, that tone she was hearing for the first time tonight. The tone that made her heart react before her mind could catch up. "Ava," he said. "Can I ask you something?" Her breath wavered. Luca never hesitated with her. Never paused like he was afraid of choosing the wrong words. But now he looked unsure, almost cautious. "What is it?" she asked quietly. He held her gaze for a moment. A slow, careful moment. Then he said, "Why do you always pretend you're all right when you're not?" Her shoulders lifted slightly, a subtle, instinctive retreat. Not because she felt judged, he wasn't judging her. But because he had seen through her more deeply than she expected. "I don't pretend," she said. He gave the faintest smile. Not disbelieving. Just knowing. "You do," he said softly. "You do it every time." Ava swallowed, her fingers tightening around the strap of her bag. "I don't want to be a burden," she whispered. That was the truth. The real truth. The one she rarely spoke aloud. The lights flickered again, and Luca stepped a little closer, not enough to make her uncomfortable, just enough that she could feel warmth drifting toward her through the cool air. "You could never be a burden," he said. "Not to me." The sincerity in his voice landed deeper than she expected. Her chest tightened in a way she couldn't name. "Luca," she whispered, unsure what she was even trying to say. But before she could gather her thoughts, another rumble of thunder rolled through the hallway. The sound echoed, and she flinched again, just a small movement, barely noticeable. But Luca saw it. Without thinking, he stepped forward. And without meaning to, she took half a step back. Their eyes met, a startled, breathless pause between them. "I'm not going to do anything you don't want," he murmured. "I know," she said. And she did. She trusted him more than she trusted most people. That wasn't the part that scared her. It was the way he was looking at her. Different. Focused. Like she mattered in a way she wasn't prepared for. He glanced toward the tall windows lining the hallway. The storm was heavier now, the rain streaking down in trembling silver lines. "We can wait it out in the front room," he offered. "It's warmer there." Ava hesitated. She didn't want to be alone with the weight of what she was feeling. And she didn't want to be alone with Luca if he kept looking at her that way. But she also didn't want to leave. "Not yet." "Okay," she said softly. Luca nodded and walked ahead, giving her space instead of closing in too fast. That was something she always appreciated about him, he never pushed, even when he cared. The front room was dim, lit only by the soft glow from the exit sign and the faint spill of light from the hallway. The rain sounded louder here, but somehow it felt comforting. Ava placed her bag on the chair near the wall. Luca leaned against the table nearby, arms loosely crossed. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then he said, in that quiet tone again, "I didn't mean to make you uncomfortable back there." "You didn't," she replied quickly. Maybe a little too quickly. He raised his eyebrows slightly but didn't comment. After a few seconds, he said, "You know, I pay attention to you more than you think." Her breath caught. She wasn't sure what to do with that sentence. Her mind reached for something to say, but her thoughts felt tangled. "Why?" she finally asked. He didn't look away. "Because you act strong even when you're tired. You keep moving even when you're hurting. And you never ask anyone for help." His voice dropped even softer. "Not even me." Ava's chest tightened again. Luca wasn't dramatic. He wasn't the type to say things just for effect. Which meant every word he spoke was real. "I don't know how to ask," she admitted quietly. He nodded once, as if he'd known that all along. "You don't have to know how," he said. "You just have to let someone be there." Her heart trembled in the silence that followed. The storm outside cracked again, the thunder rolling through the building like a slow, low heartbeat. Ava looked down at her hands, trying to steady herself. Then she felt it. Luca stepping closer. But this time, she didn't step back. He stopped just close enough that she could feel the presence of him. Not touching. Just there. "Ava," he said gently. The tone of his voice changed again, deeper, more vulnerable. "I need to tell you something." Her breath stilled. His eyes held hers with a softness that made her chest feel unsteady. And she knew, whatever he was about to say, it would change everything. Some truths don't arrive loudly. They come quietly, soft as a breath. But they land with the weight of something you can't ignore. Ava stood completely still. The storm outside rumbled in the background, but Luca's voice, the way he had just said her name, drowned out everything else. He looked like he was trying to figure out how to speak the next sentence without changing everything between them. And maybe he already knew it was too late. Maybe things had already changed. "What is it?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Luca exhaled slowly. A small, steadying breath. The kind people take right before saying something honest. "I didn't stay behind tonight because I needed to finish work," he said. Ava blinked. "I stayed because I didn't want you walking out in the storm alone, and because I wanted a chance to talk to you. Really talk to you." Her heart thudded once, heavy, startled. She had expected something, but not that. Not that level of truth spoken so quietly. "Luca," she murmured. But he gently shook his head. "I'm not saying it to make things strange. I've noticed things. Things about you I don't think anyone else sees." A soft ache stirred in her chest, a mix of fear, warmth, and confusion. "What things?" she asked. He stepped a little closer, slow and careful, like he was approaching something fragile. "You carry everything alone," he said. "You smile so people don't worry. You say you're fine so they don't ask questions. And whenever someone gets close, you pull back because you're scared the weight you're holding will fall on them." Her breath caught. He wasn't wrong. He wasn't even close to wrong. Ava stared down at her hands. Her fingers trembled slightly, and she clasped them together to steady them. "How long have you been noticing all that?" she asked quietly. "For a long time," he said. His voice was warm, careful, different in the way that had shaken her since the moment he entered the hallway earlier. "But why?" she whispered. "Why pay that much attention to me?" He didn't hesitate. "Because I care about you." The words weren't loud. They weren't dramatic. They were simple. Real. Ava felt her chest tighten. Care was a dangerous word. A word that made her afraid to look up, afraid to meet his eyes, afraid to see something she wasn't ready for. Luca noticed her silence and softened his tone even more. "I'm not asking for anything," he said. "I'm not expecting anything. I just needed you to know. Because it feels wrong pretending I don't." Ava looked up slowly. His expression was steady, open, honest. There was no pressure in his eyes, just kindness. Warm, quiet kindness that made her feel seen in a way she wasn't used to. "Why tell me now?" she asked. He glanced toward the window for a moment, watching the rain trace uneven paths down the glass. "Because you were about to walk out into a storm like you always do," he said. "And something in me couldn't let you do that without knowing someone sees you. Someone wants to be there for you." Her throat tightened. This wasn't attention. This wasn't pity. This wasn't someone trying to save her. This was someone caring honestly, gently, without asking for anything back. Ava stepped back a little, not from fear, but because she needed a moment to breathe. To process. To steady herself. Luca didn't follow. He stayed exactly where he was, giving her space. "You don't have to say anything right now," he whispered. "I know it's a lot." She nodded, her voice caught in her chest. The storm outside softened for a moment, the thunder fading into a distant hum. The silence between them grew warmer, calmer, even though her heart was still racing. Finally, Ava managed to speak. Luca, I didn't know you felt that way. I know, he said softly. I never made it obvious. I didn't want to confuse you. I didn't want to push you. I just wanted you to know you're not alone. Her eyes stung for reasons she didn't want to examine yet. She looked away, then back at him. And when she finally found her voice, it was small and unsteady. What am I supposed to do with that? She asked. Luca took a gentle breath. Whatever feels right to you, he said. Even if that means nothing changes. His voice trembled slightly at the end, just enough for her to notice. Just enough to tell her it cost him something to say those words. Before she could respond, a sudden burst of wind rattled the windows, making her jump. Instinctively, she moved closer to him without thinking. He stilled. Her breath caught. For a second, neither of them moved. And then Luca looked at her, really looked at her, with a softness that made the room feel too quiet. Ava, he murmured, there's more I need to tell you. Her pulse fluttered. More? What more could there be? She swallowed hard, bracing herself without even realizing it. And then he stepped just close enough that his voice dropped to an intimate softness meant only for her. There's something I've been holding back for a long time. Ava's heart trembled. Whatever came next. It was going to change everything even more. Some truths sit on the edge of a person's voice for a long time. Waiting. Hesitating. Hoping for the right moment to finally be spoken. Ava felt that pause, that delicate, trembling moment stretch between her and Luca like a held breath. His eyes held hers with a gentleness that made her heart feel unsteady. What have you been holding back? She asked quietly. Luca's jaw tightened just a little, like he was gathering courage he wasn't used to needing. He wasn't nervous around people. Not usually. But tonight, with her, something was different. He took a small step closer, not too close, but close enough that she felt the warmth in his voice before she heard the words. I notice you're quiet more than your words, he said softly. And I've wanted to tell you why for a long time. Ava swallowed, her breath catching. Luca continued. You know how most people talk just to fill silence? You're not like that. When you speak, you mean it. When you go silent. He paused, his voice gentling even further. That's when I see the parts of you you don't show. Her chest tightened. She didn't like being seen that deeply. She wasn't used to it. She didn't know how to protect herself from it. But Luca didn't look away. That's what I've been holding back, he said. That I see you. Maybe more than I should. Ava's breath trembled. She wasn't afraid, not of him. But of what this meant. Of how much he had been feeling in silence while she had been trying so hard not to feel anything at all. Luca, she whispered. But before she could say more, another roll of thunder shook the building, and the lights flickered once again. The storm pressed harder against the windows, sending a soft patter of rain down the glass. Ava startled again, just a small, quick flinch, and Luca noticed instantly. Hey, he murmured. You're okay. Something in his tone, warm, protective, steady, made her exhale a little too sharply, like her emotions had suddenly rushed to the surface. She pressed a hand lightly against her forehead. It's not the storm, she said, her voice unsteady. It's everything else. Luca nodded slowly. He didn't touch her. He didn't close the distance. He simply stood there, steady, patient, like he was giving her space to breathe in a moment that felt too heavy. You don't have to explain, he said. I just want you to feel like you can talk to me, if you ever want to. Ava looked up at him, really looked at him. The kindness in his eyes disarmed her. And maybe that was why the truth slipped out before she could stop it. I'm not used to someone caring like that, she admitted. Luca's expression softened in a way she wasn't ready for. That's not your fault, he said. You learned to carry things alone because you had to. But you don't have to keep doing that. Her throat tightened. She looked away for a moment, trying to steady her breathing. Then she asked quietly, why does it sound different when you talk to me? Luca froze. A second passed. Then another. I'm not sure I should answer that, he said with a faint, nervous breath. Why not? Because the truth might change things. And I don't want to push you into anything you're not ready for. Ava stepped a little closer without realizing it, just a natural movement, drawn by something she couldn't name. Tell me anyway, she said softly. Luca's eyes flicked down for a moment, then back up. And then he finally said it. Because when it's just you and me, I don't feel like I have to pretend. I don't have to act like everything's fine. I don't have to hide what I feel. Her heart stumbled. What do you feel? She whispered. He exhaled slowly, a quiet, shaky breath that told her this was harder for him than he was letting on. I feel protective of you, he said. I feel drawn to you in ways I don't understand. His voice dropped even softer. And I feel like, when you walk into a room, something in me pays attention whether I want it to or not. Ava's pulse fluttered wildly. That was more honesty than she expected. More honesty than she knew how to hold. She took a step back, not out of fear, but out of pure, startled reaction. Luca didn't move. He didn't reach for her. He didn't close the space. He stayed still, giving her room to breathe. The storm outside softened for a moment, the rain easing into a quieter rhythm. Ava pressed her hand over her heart as if trying to calm it. This is a lot, she whispered. I know, he said gently. And I'm not sure what to do with any of it. You don't have to do anything, he said quickly. I'm not asking for anything. I just didn't want to hide it anymore. Her eyes lifted to his. I never asked you to hide anything. He gave a tiny, rueful smile. No. But I did anyway. A beat of silence passed. Then Ava asked the question she didn't know she'd been holding. So, what happens now? Luca hesitated. Then he stepped one small, careful step closer. What happens now, he said softly, is whatever you want. I'll follow your pace. Ava felt her breath catch again, but this time, in a different way. Softer. Warmer. Less fear, and more something she wasn't ready to name. The rain tapped gently against the windows like a quiet reminder that the world outside was still moving, even as everything inside this room seemed to stand still. Then Luca whispered something she wasn't expecting, something that sent a warm ripple through her chest. Ava, there's one more thing I've been meaning to ask you. Something I've never had the courage to say out loud. She froze. Her eyes widened slightly. What is it? She breathed. Luca's voice dropped to the softest she had ever heard. Do you trust me? Ava didn't know how to answer that. Not yet. Not fully. But she knew her next breath felt different. And so did the moment. Trust is a fragile thing. It can take months to build, years to understand. And yet sometimes, it takes only one moment to feel. Ava stood completely still as Luca's question echoed softly between them. Do you trust me? The rain tapped lightly against the windows. The distant rumble of thunder faded into a low hum. Everything else in the room felt suspended, waiting for her answer. She opened her mouth, then closed it. Her pulse was soft but unsteady, like her heart wasn't sure whether to move closer or hold back. She wasn't used to trust being a choice. It had always felt like a risk she couldn't afford. But Luca wasn't asking for something big. He wasn't asking for promises or certainty. He was asking for something small, simple, honest. Something she had never really given to anyone. Ava whispered, her voice trembling slightly. I don't know if I trust easily. Luca nodded, not disappointed, just understanding. I didn't think you would, he said quietly. But I needed to hear your truth. Not what you think I want to hear. Ava looked at him, surprised. Most people wanted reassurance. Most people wanted the easy answer. But Luca, he just wanted honesty. She took a slow breath. I don't trust easily, she repeated. But I trust you more than I trust most people. Luca's eyes softened so much she felt it. A small smile touched his lips, not a triumphant smile, not a relieved one, but a gentle one, like her words mattered more than she realized. That's enough, he said. More than enough. A warmth stirred in her chest, subtle but real. The storm outside eased, the rain slowing into a quiet drizzle. It felt like the world was softening just a little, giving them room to breathe. Ava stepped a bit closer. Not because she had decided anything big. Not because she had sorted through every feeling, but because she wanted to. "Luca," she said, her voice gentler now, "can I ask you something too?" "Anything. Why did you stay tonight?" "Really?" He didn't hesitate. "Because I felt like you needed someone nearby," he said. "And because I wanted to be that person, if you'd let me." Her heart tightened with something careful and tender. "And what if I don't know how to let someone in?" she whispered. Luca's gaze grew warmer. "Then I'll move slowly," he said. "At your pace. Not mine." Those 4 words, "at your pace," landed deeper than anything else he'd said tonight. Ava exhaled shakily, her shoulders relaxing in a way she hadn't expected. For the first time since this conversation began, she didn't feel overwhelmed. She didn't feel pressured. She didn't feel rushed. She felt safe. Quietly, she asked, "Why do you talk differently when it's just us?" Luca took a soft breath, almost like he'd been waiting for her to notice that. "Because you calm me," he said. "Because you make me want to be honest." His voice dropped even more gently. "And because something about you makes every word feel like it matters." Ava's breath caught. No one had ever told her something like that. She didn't know what to say. So instead, she let the silence settle warm between them, a silence that felt soft instead of heavy. The rain outside thinned into a faint mist. The air grew lighter, and Ava realized her heart wasn't racing anymore. She looked up at him, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know where this is going," she said. "But I don't want to walk away from it." Luca's expression changed, gently, slowly, into something full of quiet relief. "You don't have to," he said. "I'm right here." Another soft rumble of distant thunder rolled across the sky, but Ava didn't flinch this time. Instead, she stepped closer. Not by accident. Not out of fear. But because she chose to. Luca noticed, his breath catching just slightly, but he stayed perfectly still, giving her full control of the moment. Ava looked up at him, her voice steady for the first time that night. "So what happens now?" she asked. He smiled, warm and sincere. "Now," he said softly, "we take it one step at a time. I'll be here. Whenever you're ready. However you need." A quiet warmth spread through her chest, gentle, grounded, real. For the first time in a long time, the future didn't feel like something she had to outrun. It felt like something she could walk toward. Slowly. Carefully. At her own pace. Luca shifted just slightly, his voice dropping to that tone she had grown so aware of, the soft, steady tone meant only for her. "Ava," he murmured. "Yes. I'm really glad you didn't walk out of here alone tonight." She felt her heart open, just a little. "Me too," she whispered. The rain quietly faded into a hush. The storm began to pass. And the moment, tender, fragile, hopeful, settled gently around them. A new beginning, unfolding softly. With no rush. No pressure. Just 2 people finding each other in the quiet. And for the first time in a very long while, Ava didn't feel alone walking into whatever came next. She felt seen. She felt understood. She felt accompanied. And that was enough.